What is wrong with our country? Amid the thick of elections, we are coming to you with the stark reality, lest we forget. Lest these children who died by suicide while preparing for competitive exams are relegated to mere statistics. In a country that boasts of its youth power, there's something deeply worrying, as young students die by suicide one after the other in a district seen as India's coaching hub, Kota. A 21-year-old preparing for the National Medical Entrance Exam in Rajasthan's coaching hub, Kota, has been found dead by suicide in his room. A suicide note recovered from the room, according to the police, says, "I'm sorry, Papa. Main is saal bhi nahi kar paya." Translated as, "I couldn't do it this year either." This came just a day after another NEET aspirant, Sumit Panchal, died by suicide, was found dead in the hostel room, was preparing for NEET for over 1 year. Parents suspect foul play. A case of unnatural death has been registered. These are two likely deaths by suicide in a matter of 3 days in Kota. In fact, between January and April of this year, that's just 4 months, there are 10 deaths by suicide that have been reported. 10 in 4 months. Young children, youth of our country. In March, a 19-year-old NEET aspirant, Soumya Kurmi, died by suicide in Kota. She belonged to Amethi in Uttar Pradesh. 20-year-old Uruj Khan from Kannauj in Uttar Pradesh was preparing for NEET and was found dead in his room. He had been preparing for NEET since a couple of years in Kota. A joint entrance exam aspirant, Abhishek Mandal from Bihar's Bhagalpur, died by suicide in Rajasthan's Kota. A suspected suicide note was also recovered from the room of the student. "Sorry, Papa, I cannot do JEE." The recovered suicide note read. The body of a 16-year-old entrance coaching student who had gone missing from Rajasthan's Kota 9 days ago was found in a nearby forest region, the police had confirmed. The student Rachid Sondhya, who was preparing for the joint entrance examination, had been missing since February 11th after he left his hostel for the coaching center. He was last captured in the CCTV entering the forest area near the Gardia Mahadev Mandir. His body was eventually recovered. A 16-year-old student, Shubh Chaudhary from Chhattisgarh, who was preparing for the joint entrance examination, died by suicide in his hostel room in February. A B.Tech final year student died by suicide as well. 18-year-old student died by suicide. JEE mains aspirant taking coachings in Kota died by suicide just a day or two before her exam. We're talking about Niharika. This incident happened in January. She left a suicide note. Allow me to read it. "Mom and Dad, I can't do JEE, so I'm committing suicide. I'm a loser. I'm the reason. I'm the worst daughter. Sorry, Mom and Dad." This is the last option. This had come within a week of a 19-year-old student, Mohammad Zaid from Moradabad in Uttar Pradesh, dying by suicide in Kota. And remember, there are several more such instances. Almost 2 lakh students moved towards Kota to study in the coaching institutes. The city is often known as a coaching factory. Many youngsters believe it's a window to their dreams. This, however, is nothing but false. No district, no best of coachings can ever be the window to anybody's dream. And it's so important for us, for our children and our parents to understand that dreams that mean the world at one stage would be just a matter of laughter, a memory or a learning, a success or a failure in the next phase. Phases end, seasons end, but nothing is worth taking one's life. And if our education system, our families are failing to instill this in us, it is nothing but our own failure. Caught between unrealistic parental aspirations and inability to cope with academic pressure, peer pressure, students spiral into depression, some of them dying by suicide. I'm going to be joined by our panel tonight, and we're going to try to hope to bring in different perspectives, but most importantly, drive a very important message to our viewers who are watching. Parents, youngsters, children, teachers, professors, those who are teaching in coaching institutes, we all have our responsibilities. Dr. Bharat Singh Shekhawat, who is the head of the psychiatry department in Kota Medical College, Akhil Tewari, who is the director of school toppers, Aisha Keswani, who is a career coach, Shreya Soni, who is a BTech student. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. Let me just come across to you, Shreya Soni, at this point. Shreya,
Yeah, hi everyone.
You are studying engineering right now.
Yeah, I am in BTech.
But you studied in Kota, you prepared for your coaching, for your engineering several years in Kota. How many years did you prepare? What are your big takeaways? What do you remember the most of your time that you were preparing for these entrance examinations?
Okay, so yes, I was doing coaching and I was doing coachings for last like 4 years of my life from 9th to 12th. I was in coaching and I was doing coaching for studying about JEE and JEE Advanced was my target. And yeah, I definitely had a lot of pressure during my JEE because it is such a big exam which actually determines the entire life of a student, you know, how our future is going to be. I think JEE and NEET are the two exams that actually determine our future. And therefore, every student like me has a lot of pressure, not just me. I would say every person of my batch had a lot of pressure. But I was glad that my parents were very supportive. And that is one of the very big reasons that I never had a situation like that. But definitely, there were panic attacks, there were stresses during the exam times. I definitely faced all of them.
Shreya, explain to me, help us to understand this. And of course, most of us will get this because we all have at some stage gone through this. This is so ingrained in our education system, unfortunately, particularly as we finish our schooling and try to get through competitive examinations. But Shreya, break this down for us. What were the circumstances? What were the most challenging things? I mean, you were with your friends there. You would have developed relationships there. You would have had peers there. Would that result in more pressure?
Okay, so definitely peers affect a lot, but I was glad that Shuru Sehi, since the childhood, I had been taught that we should choose the future according to us. So I always chose my peers according to how I wanted to choose them. And I was, touch wood, my peers were really good. They were really supportive. And we had a group of girls of four, and we were teaching each other. We used to, teach each other stuffs when, one person didn't understand something, the other one used to teach the other one. So yeah, with this way, I actually manage a lot. But again, staying away from the family in a hostel, again, hostel doesn't provide a lot of stuffs to you. Hostel is really bad at times. Even still, I am in my hostel, and with the background, you can see that hostel life is never good. All the luxurious amenities that your parents can provide you, which you had with you since like an age of 15 years. And after 15, when you have
Fair
to
enough,
leave your
Shreya.
house and
I think it's absolutely beyond expectations to expect any hostel or PG to be anywhere close to what a home would be. But I'm also trying to
yeah.
understand, in these coaching institutes, it may not have happened with you, but with your peers, with those whom you have been speaking to, your people, your friends who are currently doing engineering with you, is there a culture of shaming? Is there a culture of shame? I've heard, now you could tell me whether it's true, there are three types of rankings and mark sheets that are put out in these coaching institutes: first 10, first 100, and those who would not have cleared. Is this true?
Yeah, I mean, to some extent it is, but definitely for your betterment, I would say not really your betterment, depends on the person again. It depends on the people. Like, I got a good rank in Anthe, and that is the reason I got in one of the top batches of this state. But again, there are people, again, my brother is there, so he's also studying in Akash. And there are Allen, Fitzy, every institute it is there. And I'm not naming up anyone among them, but I guess this system of making the batches can be good for a few people because again everyone studying JEE mains cannot qualify JEE advanced, and the person who wants JEE mains and who wants JEE advanced, I think there is a difference among both of them. If your target is JEE advanced, you would definitely be an upper batch because it's JEE advanced. But if your target is JEE mains, so your target would be JEE mains and you'll be in that batch. But NEET,
Okay.
I have no idea about NEET, I'm sorry about that. But yeah.
Sure, sure. Fair enough. Dr. Bharat Singh, if I can come to you at this point, you have, of course, been at the center of a lot that's been unfolding in Kota. So many of these cases have been referred at some point to the medical college. Um, what should one make out of what we hear? We are not in Kota, we are very far away from Kota. These things seem so disturbing at so many levels. What should one really make out of what's unfolding there?
See, Kota is famous for coaching people from all around the world, even from the different countries coming to the Kota for NEET and this IIT entrance examination. Their parents send them with the aspiration that they will go to the Kota and they will become doctor or IITians after taking coaching from coaching institutes. But we have to understand two, three things. One thing is we have destroyed our schooling system completely. In Kota, there are dummy schools. Students are studying in coaching only, and they have to read, study, and study. Their normal development is completely gone. Their childhood is completely gone. In schooling, students are interacting with each other, learning from each other, and there is a healthy normal development. But at a tender age of 16, 17 years, they come to the quota for this aspiration and they have to adjust with everything. Some students may cope with the situation, but other find that I'm not able to do this. But they cannot say no. They cannot tell their parents that I'm not able to do this. They are trying their best, and at some point of time, they think that there is no other way except to die. This kind of situation is Kota because there are limited seats and so many students. We have so many ideas, so many policies, but these policies are not implementing. And people from even the parents are not understanding that everybody is not for doctor or engineer. And we have glamorized this thing that everybody wants to. There are lakhs of students appearing for this NEET and IIT. And there are limited seats. We have to understand that everybody is not for this. Some students understand that they will not be able to crack this examination, but they cannot say that I am not able to do this. And what should I say to my parents?
Okay.
They are spending a lot of money to me, and so many other factors. Even the coaching institute are glamorizing. They do not tell you what is the exact result. They just publish the name of toppers. And there are several batches, the top batch or star batch, which they are focusing. Other students are more or
Right.
less neglected. So many other things are there. So Kota is not able to handle such a large population of students. And there are few counselors, and they are doing something which is cosmetic. We have to understand that we should take students which we can handle. Another thing is we have made so many policies. If somebody wants coaching after completing their schooling, they can do 6 month or 1 year coaching and then they can try. Previously, there was no
Okay.
coaching. Still,
All
students
right.
were
Allow me, sir.
cracking
Allow
this
me to come back
examination.
to you. Let me get the introductory remarks of others as well on this panel. Thank you so much for your introductory remarks at this point. Akhil Tewari, Director for School Toppers, thank you so much for joining us. I
Hello.
understand so
Hi.
many coaching institutes may not want to join us. We have reached out to a couple of them. They did not want to come up and speak in open. Thank you for joining us on this.
Thank you.
And I understand you may not be talking about yourself, but of course you would be representing the coaching institutes, the culture of coaching institutes. I want to ask you one question. Why can't the IITs, why can't the UPSCs, why can't the top medical colleges be cracked without coaching institutes? Why are they so indispensable? And I know there are people who do crack these exams without coaching institutes. I understand that. But why is it becoming a necessity? As a coaching institute owner yourself, and I understand you would have understood there's a market for you, and therefore you would have also got into it with the aim, of course, to help aspirants and so many other aspirations as well on your part. But why is it so critical? Why are children living in pigeonholes and being cramped up in coaching institutes to be able to crack an exam that seems so difficult for them?
So yes, see, what students need is a good teacher. If a good teacher they get in any of the school, they can crack the exam. So the thing is that we should not bring all coaching into a negative aspect. One of the best teachers you get in all the coaching institutes. So if a school provides a good coaching, is a good teacher, student can crack it on their own. But the basic understanding, see, till 10th you need teachers, right? So even 11th, 12th you need teachers. The science, the level of questions which they ask in general in science or in particular in JEE Advanced are decently tough. But even if you ask board level questions for an easy exam like JEE Mains, which is recently easy, you need a basic understanding for which you need a good teacher. So if anybody provides good teachers, it might be coaching institute, it might be a school, it might be anybody. It will help student to crack this exam. So coaching is not a necessity, a good teacher is. So that is how that student has to go and find a good teacher.
So even for coaching
You're not audible.
institutes, you may have good teachers. No, I'm saying even if you're talking about coaching institutes and you may say coaching institutes have good teachers, fair enough. Obviously, they're going to be coaching students, so they would have teachers at a certain level. And fair enough, you have brought in the failure of the education system that we all are aware of. I'll try and get another panelist to speak on this. But if I could at this point ask you again, where does economics of coaching institute and the accountability of coaching institutes merge? Why I ask you this question, because if you look at so many coaching institutes, you have classrooms full. You have hundreds of students in one classroom. And that may quite be a minimal number. There are so many more. I was just watching I think it was 2 months back, where a student collapsed in a coaching institute out of a possible heart attack. That was in a very different instance that had come out. But I'm just remembering those visuals. And it was a packed classroom with no ventilation, with nothing. So where does the economics and the accountability of these coaching institutes really come into play?
They agree with you. Like I also run a coaching institute in Bombay in the name of School Toppers. So we have a batch size of 35. So it depends on coaching to coaching. What is the batch size? An ideal batch size for coaching for
I understand,
JEE
but
NEET is
where
35
does the accountability and... No, I'm not saying about your institute. I'm just saying, where does economics and accountability come into play? Because if you are having one good teacher, as the coaching institutes boast of, you definitely can't be catering to 150, 200 people at the same time in the same classroom in the same batch.
That's what I'm saying. It is a choice of the parents. There are different coaching who are cramping, but the coaching who are not cramping. So we can't categorize all coaching into one bracket that everybody is teaching to its quota. The batch size is 200, I agree. But they have big rooms also. And the fees is also accordingly. So we should not... Kota is also doing a good job. Like I'm not from Kota. My coaching is not in Kota. But I want to say is that Kota is not to be in such a bad light. Finally, they are producing best of the engineers and best of the doctors. Finally, you have to understand it is the fault of a society at large. It is not the coaching institute. It's the pressure by the society where you and I are equally responsible. The parents, the teachers, the schooling system, everybody is responsible. We have created
Absolutely,
an atmosphere.
there's no doubt about this. This is not about... Yes, you were saying this is not about?
I'm not audible.
All
You're
right.
not audible.
So let me just go across to Aditya Raj Singh at this point. Aditya, you were also a student at one point. You were also studying in Kota. Of course, several years have passed since you studied in Kota. Where are you right now? Which phase of life are you in right now? What are the things that you remember the most while you were studying in Kota?
Hi, so currently I run my own boutique marketing agency. It's been a few years, so I feel I'm in a better position to look at my years back and understand the kind of problems, in fact, that I was facing. But the larger issue is that most of the students at that age and that phase in life are not able to understand it themselves. It takes many years before they do it for themselves, and the people who are supposed to take care of you are not doing that. They're absolutely failing at it. And I'm talking about the large institutions where 250,
Aditya, before you
400 people are
no,
sitting in.
Aditya, before you go on to large institutes and families, would you be able to help us go through some critical points that you think were extremely worrisome for you when you were studying in Kota?
I think the biggest problem was how we were kind of in a solitary confinement of sorts. That's what still kind of is still in my memory, how we were all living in our silos. Uh, that has left a lasting imprint on me. And I feel that is the problem of most of the students there, because you feel agar if I'm being in company of people, you are encouraged to stay alone so that you're not distracted by friends around you. So I feel that was one of the biggest problems and biggest challenges that I faced there, that you were living alone, you were living in silos, and you had zero to little exposure of what was happening outside. So that's where it festers from.
So, is that the only point that you remember that was hugely challenging for you? How are the how was the environment in the coaching institute? How was the environment in the room or in the PG that you were staying in? What was the pressure like for you from family at the coaching with peers? Would you be able to remember anything?
So
Is there anything that you want to share?
imagine as a middle class guy, most of the students there, their families send them on loans. So obviously there is some pressure from families. Secondly, there is a batch system, as you must be aware. So there is P1 se leke, let's say P25 in the kind of institute I was in, P25. So once you descend down the batches, there is absolutely no hope for you. So you kind of feel that, okay, I need to get into a better batch, but then you don't understand how you should do that. And once those batches start rolling, then you are neglected by everybody around you. Even your friends kind of look down upon you. Okay, he's in P13, he's not going to make it. So that pressure slowly builds up, and I feel it's a downhill road there onwards. So, yeah.
That's such an important statement that you have made. We seem to just create a culture of shame at this point. Before I go to Dr. Bharat on what you have said, let me just come across to Aisha Keswani at this point. Aisha, you heard what the two students on our panelists have said. I also want to ask you, look at the suicide notes that have come up. It's absolutely heartbreaking. The latest that has come up is just today, and it clearly shows मैं crack नहीं कर पाया. I couldn't crack it again. It's absolutely heartbreaking if you look at it.
Yeah.
It's just an examination, but we have lost the ability, at least some of us have lost the ability of seeing it as just an examination.
I'll just say that actually this pressure which the students are facing these years, like, the pressure is coming from the parent side, the peer competition, the competition which they are facing from their own friends. For example, if the student is not that good in studies, still that student starts comparing himself with the one who is already topping the list. So now, I believe that there should be a certain type of people involved, like counselors involved, like coaches involved, who guide them the correct path. Look, it's not necessary for everyone to get into IIT, right? That is something which I always want to say to everyone. There are many more engineering colleges as well, but there is no one to guide them that feature only. That is the basic issue. With the parents,
Okay, Atisha, let me ask you a
problem with the
question.
parents is
Let me
that
ask
they
you
are
a
not
question. And just
understanding.
very frankly have a
Yeah.
conversation, because you never know.
Yeah.
There may be a student who will be listening to us. Very frankly, since you're a career coach, what if?
Correct.
And be as practical as you can. If you can give me examples, give me examples. I, of course, can give you examples, but I want it to come from you. What if you don't crack the IIT? What if you don't crack the AIMS? What if you go to a B grade college, or well, not one of the top colleges? What if you don't get into IIT? What if you don't get into these main big institutions? Will one still be able to make a career, be a top CEO, grow into a big influencer, own one's own MNC, start one's own MNC, even if you are not through these brands? Please help us understand this. Let this message go across. And give us examples if you can.
I'll just say that 100%. The biggest example I can give right now is me, myself. Okay? I prepared myself for IIT JEE for 2 years. I slacked myself in my class 11th. Actually, I slogged myself in my class 11th and my class 12th, handling a well-reputed school in which I was studying. Along with that, I was preparing myself for IIT, but I couldn't crack it. Still, I took a break of 1 year after my grade 12th. I again did the exam, but again I was not able to crack it. So now, what happened? Did I demotivated myself? No. I think at that time, the biggest motivation which I got was from my parents. So I'll always say that कि जो वो pressure you get from your parents and from the society, please do not understand it. Just neglect it. That is something that noise you need to just neglect it, because that noise will automatically come at that time and disrupt your particular studies, particular your career options. There are hundreds of options. There are hundreds of colleges. If you have that tendency, if you have that capability in you, if you have that intense in you that you want to upskill yourself, trust me, you
Absolutely,
can do
Atisha.
anything.
I think that's very important. And we must also remember, if we have a Sundar Pichai who's an IIT alumnus and who's grown to be a CEO, you also have Satya Nadella, who's a non-IIT CEO. Then you have so many startups in India alone.
100%.
You have Paytm,
100%.
you have Nykaa, you have Book My Show, you have Swiggy. All of these people are non-IIT pass-outs who are from so many well-known institutions and are making India proud, are making India leaders in international names. Let me just come across to Dr. Bharat Singh at this point. Dr. Bharat Singh, there are not many institutions, departments like psychiatry or at the medical colleges or at hospitals, or even students' help groups that may be working with students very closely. Quite frankly, students who are preparing for competitive exams don't have the time. They start their morning waking up to an alarm, trying to get to a schedule to be able to study what they have to study through the day, with very marked short breaks, and they go back crashing to sleep again with an alarm to wake up. They possibly would be taking cat naps for 20 minutes in the afternoon or every few hours, again with an alarm. So they really don't have the time to be able to go in and visit, get medical help if they think they are, because at the other hand, they think they're going to lose out on time. So for such students, for such families, what do you have to tell them?
See, first of all, you have to understand that if the student is not able to doing their study, or if they are not able to do this type of examination, parents should understand that there should be an alternate way. There should be an exit policy. So teachers, parents, and student can come sit together and decide what to do. Another important thing is there are several things we can do. One is screening of the students, and those who are vulnerable, we can track them, these students. And we have a good team of clinical psychologists, not the academic psychologists, clinical psychologists, so that if everybody wants to talk to their psychologist, they should be available in the institute. What they are doing is they have some part-time psychologists at the time of need. They are just for formality. These are very big institutes. They can deploy many of the clinical psychologists, and a group of students can be assigned to them. They interact regularly with the students, and if there is any problem, they can sort out then and there in the coaching institute. Another important thing is, if they think that students are not able to cope with the situation, they should counsel the parents also that these students are not able to do this thing. There are certain other options which should be explored.
Right.
Another important thing
Absolutely.
is we
And
should train the teachers also, so they can identify that these students are not good, they are not able to cope with the situation.
sure. Certainly. Akhil Tewari, do you want to respond? Do you also want to respond to what Adiya Raj Singh had spoken about how if they have these batches and if they get, the lower they get into the batch, it seems very difficult to catch up with life, to catch up with peers, this culture of shame that exists in several coaching institutes, not all. And again, I want to make this very clear. I am not against coaching institutes. I have gone to coaching institutes. I have had coachings. And it's been very helpful in life for various reasons. I am not against coaching institutes. There is a systemic lapse and lacuna, and that's why you do require a system to plug into it. And I understand coaching institutes seem to be a response to that. However, there definitely is a culture of shame, Akhil Tewari, that seems to permeate in the name of competitiveness.
View that there is a system of grading in Kota, and I'm completely against it. That the whole point of stress starts when you start comparing one kid to the other. Whether that parent might be comparing, a coaching institute might be comparing, or teacher might be comparing. Finally, we have to trust that these exams are just exams. JEE Advanced, JEE Mains, NEET, all these are just exams. There are more exams. That avenues in life are a lot more. We have to tell the kids this thing, and it has to be on a continuous basis. See the numbers. If you see the numbers, there are 25 lakh NEET aspirants, and finally, if 10,000 odd students will get
Right.
MBBS, so majority of them are going to fail. So we have to tell the kids that it's okay to fail. That is
Right.
the point we're missing. The agenda should not be that who is wrong. But right now we should be discussing that how to tell the kids that it's okay to fail. There's no problem in failing. Failure is just an incident. Today you have failed, you'll be successful tomorrow. And you take any examples.
No, I don't think the agenda is wrong. I don't think the agenda is wrong, sir. I really don't think the agenda is wrong. I would beg to humbly and very calmly differ with you. Agenda is not wrong. One agenda is definitely to tell students that it's okay to fail. And fail, by the way, is a very relative word. You may so-called fail in one aspect. That does not mean you fail. That's very important to learn as well. However, the agenda is also to ensure that our students are able to get opportunities in an environment that they can thrive, where definitely including coaching institutes as well as schools have completely failed most often than not. And I guess it's time to bring in accountability. It's of course the election season, and I just hope that this would resonate with whoever would be the next education minister, whoever would be the next prime minister, and we would see some very active interventions that would take place in this particular field. Dr. Bharat Singh, Akhil Tewari, Aisha Keswani, Adiya Raj Singh, and Shreya Soni, thank you very much for joining us, for giving in your precious time. There's very little that we can do on our screens through these discussions, but one thing that we can do is speak about it as much as we can, even if we can make a difference for one life. Thank you very much for joining us. It's time for a very short break. Do join us for the roundup of all the big news that's happened through the day around you.